Welcome to On Location. This week we're continuing the powerful story of Tony Budle and how God enabled him to practically love others. He tells us of a letter he received from the Ukraine asking for help for the many victims of the nuclear disaster in Chernobyl. Tony responded to the request with a convoy of aid, which led to new avenues where his God-given practical love would touch the lives of many. We'll meet Victoria Filatova, who after having met Tony went on to set up the Arata community centres with the help of British humanitarian aid. Arata is an organisation which essentially takes care to distribute aid and essentials to the poor, first starting in Chernihiv, then moving into other towns of the northern Ukraine area. We'll visit the centres, families and people where this work has helped change and inspire lives, providing them a better and more hopeful future. Let's join Tony as he explains the story.
I was out in Kosovo, Bosnia, and I received a letter. It was a fax letter from a doctor called Peter Kutsayev. And this doctor said that he was a doctor in the town of Chernihiv in northern Ukraine, not far from Chernobyl, that he had asked many aid agencies to help and nobody had even answered his letter, that he had 2,700 women and children suffering from cancer in that region, and could we help? So I thought, right, I got a convoy together. We set off with 43 vehicles. It was February, minus 27. It wasn't the easiest journey, but we got there. And meeting Dr. Kutsayev, he said, I'm very sorry that the letter I wrote, the lady who transcribed it for me made a mistake. We don't have 2,700 women and children dying from cancer-related illnesses. She missed off a zero. We have 27,000. I mean, that hit me like a ton of bricks. 27,000. And it was just, wow. And the difference between Ukraine and, let's say, the former Yugoslavia. Yeah, there was refugees and what have you in the former Yugoslavia, but it was self-inflicted. You know, they didn't have to start ethnic cleansing and warring with each other. The Ukrainians, it was a nuclear accident and not their fault. So to help them became our priority, and it has been for the last 12 years. And they are just amazing people. I love going there. I've learnt the language, fairly good. I've got a family of women who we employ, over 40 of them. And we've set up centres, 4 centres, 32 orphanages that we help. So it's pretty good. And I absolutely feel that's where God wants me. And I think if you in your heart feel you are where God wants you to be at this given time, then you're happy. And happy, I could not be any happier. I really love my work and I really love God. I thank God every day for my life. I'm a very lucky man.
Tony Budle is the founder of the charity British Humanitarian Aid, situated near Canterbury in the UK. This is the warehouse where the much-needed aid is sorted through, boxed, organised and distributed to the needy. This has been made possible by wonderful volunteers and the many welcomed donations received. We're joined now by Victoria Filatova, who's our interpreter and the organiser throughout our trip to the villages. We ask about the local need and how did you start?
My name is Victoria Filatova and I am chairwoman of the Chernihiv charity Arata. We started 10 years ago no, already 13 years ago. And it was really important for our city because the situation after collapse of the Soviet Union was very difficult. Many people didn't have jobs, or even if they worked, they didn't get money. So the big families and orphans and handicapped people were in big need. And at that time, British Humanitarian Aid with Tony Budle at the head came to Chernihiv. And we met, and I helped as an interpreter. And then while helping people, we noticed that it is not enough just to give them aid, to give them fish. It is important to teach them how to catch fish themselves. And so Tony's seed was, to create a community center where people can meet, help each other and help themselves. And this is a really important step in Ukraine because we didn't have such organizations before. And we started with 10 people, and we found premises in the underground. We were like a small seed, which then grew to a big oak tree. And now we have about 80 volunteers, and we have 3 branches in the region, in the 3 district centers. And they also created these community centers where they help people. And the main reason, the main purpose of these centers is for the people to have the place to come, to have their clubs, and to meet and to get information and to meet with a lawyer, to know the law, because really in Ukraine the basic human rights are not yet fulfilled. People can't get their support and such basic things if they have many children, or if they have invalid in the family, or if they are big family with many kids. So Arata helps with humanitarian aid, which we get from Britain through British Humanitarian Aid, and we distribute it from hand to hand, from heart to heart, knowing exactly where the need is. And this is important, to be inspired and to feel the protection, because when we started, of course, we were not being able to protect ourselves, being creative or being independent in our thought. The state provided. State gave something, a little bit, but maybe not enough. But it was, not the. We couldn't ask for more. We couldn't be creative, even we couldn't, think independently. And this is the thing we need to change now. This is for the people to take responsibility for their lives, and Arata is for that.
After picking up our goods from the warehouse and a quick stop for diesel, we set off with our driver Dennis to the remote village of Memo, passing beautiful scenery, rows of well-populated fir and silver birch trees. Along the way we pass local village life, a funeral procession, and immediately get the sense we're going back in time, to an era of old farming methods and times long forgotten in the West, all of which will become more familiar the further into the countryside we go. An hour and a half later, we arrive at the farmhouse where we're greeted by the Vasyuk family, where the mother and son are both disabled. And with the help of Arata and British Humanitarian Aid, Vanya, the son, is now able to get out and about with his camera, leading a much more normal and active life. Natasha, the mother, explains her joy and gratitude from receiving this help.
And the most important since we got help, these are the camera for Vanya, because he likes photography, and also the wheelchair, electric wheelchair was very helpful because Vanya can now ride on his own. Also some important basic things like bedding and furniture and some household materials.
I am Ukrainian. My name is Vasyuk Ivan. and I live in a small town in the north of Ukraine. I live with my parents, mother and father, and we try to find positive everywhere. And one of my strongest beliefs now that people can develop and can go further and higher despite the physical condition or material state.
When I came to God on the 12th of May 1988, I was given an abundance of love, and I think God wanted me to use that love for the benefit of others, which is why I started the charity. And it's always been not sort of turn up, give somebody something and drive away, but to do it in a loving way, and that's eye to eye, hand to hand, heart to heart. And for me, that is the way that God works through me. I don't come and spout religion or anything like that. Just giving God's love to those that I meet who need help, and doing it joyously and laughing and the fun that you get from doing this. But being able to give God's love to others in a practical way. And I'm very, very happy to do it. It's great fun.
We're now heading to the family Errata Centre at Makashino, celebrating its 7th anniversary. This building and land was in total disrepair. Tony bought the property for $1,000, and with local community help, this has now become a vital part of village life. Through the centres, Errata essentially takes care to distribute aid and essentials to the needy. After an hour's drive, we reached the Errata Family Centre in Makashino, where we were instantly greeted by the warmth and hospitality of the volunteers. After a children's greeting song, we all sat down to an amazing Ukrainian meal, attended by the local mayor, organisers, 42 volunteers, as well as a local Ukrainian TV crew. During this time, some of the volunteers expressed their sentiments in a few readings, with a heartfelt gratitude for Tony's genuine love shown by practical resources, making it a pleasure to work for such a wonderful leader. Many projects have been started which have had an impact on the whole community.
Be quiet.
We hit the road again, going further north on the bumpy, uneven roads, heading for the village of Tupachev, where time seemingly has stood still, where horse and cart, unusual tractors, old cars and ex-Soviet army trucks seem to be the norm. Locals here have struggled to adapt to the fast-changing political agenda, leaving a sense of hopelessness. We're joined by local mayoress Larissa Shovkova. She tells us the impact Errata and British humanitarian aid has had on the village.
The village of Tupichev is very big, and it was always famous for its traditions and beginnings. But after the Soviet Union collapsed, these years of devastation appeared. And Larissa was chosen the head of the village, so she had a big wish to revive the village and to bring back these old traditions and customs. And unfortunately, after Soviet Union, all these structures which were working during the Soviet times, this is the teenagers club and the hospital for the village hospital and the elderly people's home and school and kindergarten, were really devastated. And Larissa's wish was to revive. And British humanitarian aid just came in time, and as if they heard her thoughts and wishes. And we are very grateful personally to the people who sacrifice their lives and their time to help us and come from far distant countries to help us. And thanks to their devotion and real support, my life is easier, and the life of the village becomes more interesting and joyful.
This is a village which has nothing to entertain the children. There's no cinema or anything like that. So you've suddenly got, not much going on. But one guy here, a really smashing guy, wanted to start an orchestra. But he only had about 5 or 6 instruments. They were very old. And we looked at this and thought, well, if we could get some instruments, and we went on eBay, to try and get them, and we brought out a lot of these instruments, and it's motivated the young people. Suddenly there's something to do, and whereas before, I can't be bothered, they've only got 5 instruments, but they've got all these nice instruments, let's learn how to play, let's learn how to read music, and suddenly they've got an orchestra. And I think there's only 3 in the entire region. And they've got this sort of, they're eager to do it, they're encouraged to do it, and it's just brilliant. And it comes back to our sort of basic philosophy, is that, coming out here, they don't, yes, we give them fish, which is fine, but what they would like are the fishing rods to catch their own fish. So by giving them the instruments, it motivates them to do things that they want to do. And it just works, it's marvellous. And I get so much pleasure if you listen to them. They really learn how to play them. There's no, half-hearted. They really learn. And this guy's really good at teaching them. And it pleases us immensely. And it makes them happy. What more do you want? What more do you want?
People find us from mouth to mouth, of course. And also the social services which we have in Chernihiv and in the region, in the district centers, they also know about us and about our work, and they tell their clients or people in crisis how to reach us. We also sometimes get the request even from the Ukrainian central authorities, because sometimes the people write the letters to the president, and then he sends it lower, and to the local authorities, and then they send them to us, because we have the material help, and we have the tool for the children to be engaged, not to be in the streets. They come here for clubs, and they get psychological support, and people can get legal advice here as well. So actually, from the newspapers, from mass media, because we are on television and we are on radio and in the newspapers telling about our work. This is not just to make the image of Arata, but to tell the people what we can do together and what people can do for each other.
We set off for another hour-and-a-half's drive, which became 2 hours long as the roads had become marshland due to melted ice on the tracks. The skills of our driver Dennis were tested as we skidded and bumped our way to an even more off-the-beaten-track location, eventually reaching the village of Vaganichi near the Belarus border. We later learned that a village local had moved this sign, as even the local postman had lost his way. Not sure if it was much use though. You try reading this. This is an amazing family. Slava and his wife Nadia have adopted 11 children and care for 3 elderly, a total of 16 in their household. Slava, with the help of his eldest son, built his house using wooden logs as bricks. The farm has its own livestock, pigs, cows and a horse. They're self-sufficient while bringing up their 11 foster children, aged 6 to 17. As you can see from the children in the games room, the family atmosphere is one of real love and belonging. We enjoyed a beautiful meal and were then shown around the amazing farm, hand-built by a hard-working, humble man, Slava.
Я Надежда.
I am Nadezhda,
У нас детский семейный дом.
and we have a foster family now.
У нас 11 детей.
At the moment we have 11 children,
И на сегодняшний день у нас 3 стариков с нами.
and we have 3 older people with us.
Итого семья 16 человек.
So we have 16 people in total.
Мы познакомились.
So in 2005, when we adopted with my husband 4 children, the social services from Gorodnya, from our district center, they came to visit us with some presents. And then I got acquainted with Philip Edmonds, one of the directors of British Humanitarian Aid.
Да.
And so Philip looked around, and he saw that we really needed a lot of help because we didn't have enough beds and bedding and clothes for the children. And soon he managed to send us a big bed we all love that bed because it is maybe not for two but for three people. And the children grew when, every time he comes, so he is amazed how quickly they grow and how they change in positive way. And she just phones to Arata and she says, I need pillowcases, I need covers for the blanket, I need some duvets, I need pillows, please, can you help me? We say, yes, we can.
We can see the difference that God brought into Tony's life, taking him on a life-changing journey. It was as Tony started carrying the crosses, the difficulties of others, he found his own load lifted. So often that's the case. So often life leaves us feeling broken and empty, but as we give what we do have, God gives us even more. It's simple to follow Jesus, just do as he asks you. As you do, you'll give Jesus the opportunity to reach the multitude he died for, his way. We can see the difference made by Tony, Victoria, Slava and his wife Nadia, the Vasyuk family, Larissa, and the many thousands who every day follow Jesus by following through what he asks. And by doing so, he's able to touch a hurting world with the most needed and deprived gift, love. We join Victoria now, who explains how they find their volunteers who play such an essential role in the day-to-day operations.
Every year we have some students from local universities, from social department and from children who study to become secretaries or administrators or managers. They come to Arata for practice. And these students, they spend with us a month and they learn what we do and they also become volunteers. And the interesting thing is that many people who became volunteers, they came first to get aid. They came with their problems and they thought their problem is the biggest in the world. And they were closed at home for 13 years, 12 years, sitting with their children who are handicapped, and they didn't communicate. They were ashamed of that. They thought this is real tragedy and real, end of the world. But so they came to Arata and they asked for help. And then when we asked them, what can you do for the people and for your family, earning the aid, in brackets, of course. And then people stayed here for many years already, and they find themselves and they fulfill themselves and they show their talents and they become hairdressers, tailors, cooks, and or just loaders, of the aid, because we need to load a lot, of course. And this is the source of volunteers, of course.
We now join Tony and Victoria at a press conference being held in Chernihiv as they work with a local blind initiative. The local mayor and others took part in a city-wide walk, blindfolded with a cane, to show the difficulties.
I walked just behind Slava and Andre this afternoon. And immediately you suddenly start to see the problems of somebody who is blind.
І коли йдеш, починаєш йти, то тут же бачиш ті всі проблеми для людей, які погано бачать.
For them to be able to see the basic things of not walking into a wall or tripping over the pavement.
Починаючи з таких елементарних речей, щоб не зайти в стіну кудись не потрапити або в яму не потрапити.
Was only a small part of the problem.
І це тільки маленька частина проблеми.
When we were down in the subway,
А коли ми були вже внизу під пішохідному переході,
they decided to buy a rose each.
І тут вони ще захотіли купити квіти.
Then suddenly the problem became, am I given the right money?
А тут ще виникла проблема, чи в мене хватить
Is it
грошей?
one hryvnia, 10 hryvnia, 20 hryvnia? So you've got to trust the person.
І тут починається вже довіра до людей, які тебе оточують.
And then the lady says, Slava, this is a lovely rose.
І жінка каже, о, Слава, це дуже гарна роза.
And he says, thank you, and starts walking down, being very proud, holding a bunch of onions. Maybe people watching this program now live in Belgium or Poland or Austria, even America. and they may think, I really would like to help in some way. And there's many ways you can do it, and the easiest way is don't take your holiday to the seaside, fly out here, get off the plane, we'll meet you, and come and see what we do, and become part of that love. And it is love. This whole organisation of British Humanitarian Aid, ORATA, is based on that one word, and that is love. And for me, it's so important that we love each other. We see so many wars, we see so much going on in the world, that people are forgetting how to love, and thinking there must be an angle. If you love someone, you must want something back. But unconditional love is exactly that, unconditional. So, yeah, come on out here. You may want to make a donation, but the same applies. Just making a donation doesn't let you off the hook, because once you've made that donation, it will benefit a family here. So then you, as the person who made the donation, has suddenly become part of our family, because without what you did, it wouldn't have happened. So that's really, really important. So, yeah, come out here, come and see us. We don't bite.
In Tony's words, hand to hand, heart to heart, we can change the lives of many.